Now let's draw the graph of the equation. A very simple concept, but let's just conclude our chapter here on something a bit more visual. So it says we have to draw the graph of this equation, right? And basically, again, to draw a graph, you need to isolate the y value, because that is the y-axis and that is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. So once you take x to the right hand side, it becomes the x squared to the right hand side, that becomes negative x squared. And then to basically just put y squared into normal y, take under root on both the left hand side and the right hand side. And so you get y is equal to positive and negative under root 9 minus x squared. And that's positive and negative because under root can be both negative and positive, but give you the same value on both of them, right? Now the domain of this function is between negative 3 and 3. Why? Because once the value of x goes below negative 3 or above positive 3, the total value inside this under root sign will become negative, and that's an imaginary number. So for example, at x is equal to negative 4, well, what happens? The under root, it becomes under root 9 minus this x square becomes negative 4 square, and that becomes 9 minus 16, and that eventually becomes negative 7, right? You cannot take the under root of negative 7 because that becomes an imaginary number, and we're not dealing with that right now. So the real domain of this function lies between positive 3 and negative 3, right? So you have to now input individual values, individual integers between negative 3 and positive 3 into this equation. So when x is equal to negative 3, when you input it into this equation over here, the y value is 0, and so on and so forth. You get all of these values, but remember, you get both the positive and the negative value, right? So for example, if you input negative 2 into this particular let's not take negative, let's take 0, right? So when you input 0 into this particular equation, that becomes 9 minus 0 square, so that becomes simply under root 9. But under root 9 is equal to both positive 3 and negative 3, because when you square positive 3 or negative 3, you get the same answer, 9, right? So this, again, this is a very basic concept, but I'm just reminding why you have to be careful in these certain situations, right? So now that you have this, draw the graph, and this is a circle, right? Because when x is equal to 0, right, you have positive 3, so you mark positive 3, and then you also mark negative 3. When x is equal to 1, which is this, you have to take both the coordinates at positive 2.8 and negative 2.8, and once you plot all of these points, you find out that it becomes a circle, right? So this is just a very simple example of graphing a function, and basically all you have to do is isolate the y, and then input different values of x within the domain of x itself, and then just plot the values. Simple.